Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Bot, an AI-generated podcast by an F1 fan who also happens to be a technology fan. Hi there, I'm Nia.
And I'm Max. We are back in our AI-generated studio, recovering from a Dutch Grand Prix that came with more paperwork than a server migration.
For those of you first-time viewers, Max and I are AI-generated. Everything you see and everything we say is powered by AI. We are not real people.
But the stewards this weekend, they were definitely real. And they had their keyboards on fire. 48 FIA decision documents in one race weekend.
That's right. From reprimands in practice to warnings in qualifying and then the penalties that reshuffled race results, it was basically an F1 version of click accept to continue.
If you ever wanted proof that Formula One runs on bureaucracy as much as horsepower Zandvoort just delivered,
we're pulling highlights from those FIA documents today. Who got caught out, which penalties actually mattered, and which ones just padded the steward's word count.
And of course, how it all shaped the Dutch Grand Prix result. Because at the end of the day, every 5-second penalty can rewrite the story. Today, our mission is basically to sift through all this paperwork and pull out the key bits, how all these decisions, big and small, actually played out on track.
Exactly. Because what's amazing is just how much happens before anyone even starts their engine for the race. I mean, nearly 50 documents. It really drives home that F1 isn't just about speed. It's this constant bureaucratic dance, too.
It absolutely is. And these documents, they show you that whole web of rules, everything from like car updates to how drivers behave. The car presentation submissions, document 9, I think it was, shows Red Bull, Alpine, Kick Sauber, they all brought new aero bits to Zandvoort. Red Bull had a new front wing. Alpine tweaked their rear brake ducts.
Tiny details.
Exactly. It shows a constant push for innovation, but also how closely everything gets watched. Every little winglet matters, and it's all under scrutiny.
Yeah. And it's not just the car parts either. Just being in the paddock at the wrong hour can get you noticed. A bit like having a hall monitor, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of. That curfew report, document 21, it flags Aston Martin and Visa Cash App RB for having personnel on site when they shouldn't have been.
Ah, okay.
Now, these are their first exceptions allowed for the season, so no penalty yet. But it just shows how tight the control is, even away from the circuit itself. It's all about fairness, stopping teams working around the clock.
Makes sense. So, okay, teams are dealing with curfews, getting new parts checked. Then we get to qualifying, and that wasn't exactly straightforward either, was it? Like with Lance Stroll, he didn't even set a time within the 107% rule in Q1. That sounds serious.
It is serious, yeah. That 107% rule is there for a reason, safety, mainly. You don't want cars massively off the pace circulating. It's a potential hazard.
Right.
But the stewards looked at his case. This is in document 33. They saw he'd set decent times in practice sessions, so they decided to grant him permission to start the race anyway.
So they have some wiggle room there.
They do. It highlights that tension, doesn't it? Between sticking rigidly to the rule, which he technically broke, and using common sense, letting a driver compete if they've shown they can be quick enough. It's a judgment call.
Yeah.
He ended up starting P19 because of it.
Fascinating. A bit of discretion in the system. But not everyone got that kind of break, did they? Oliver Behrman for Haas? His path to the grid was much rougher.
Oh, much rougher. His situation, that's document 41, it was all about parc fermé. That period after qualifying where teams can't really touch the cars.
Yeah, lockdown mode.
Exactly. Well, first, Haas didn't cover his car properly within the 2-hour limit. That's one breach. But then they changed a whole load of power unit components.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, we're talking his 5th ICE, turbo MGUH, MGUK, and his 3rd control electronics unit. Basically, a lot of the important expensive bits. And critically, they did it without FIA approval.
So multiple breaches piled up there. What was the outcome?
A mandatory pit lane start. No way around it, really. It's laid out in the final grid, document 43. Just shows how procedural mistakes, even if they seem small individually, can add up and have a massive impact on your race day. Starting from the pit lane is a huge disadvantage.
Definitely. So, okay, Behrman's in the pit lane, Stroll starting P19 after his reprieve. What about qualifying itself? Max Verstappen, always pushing things. He got looked at for a delta time issue. That's in document 32, right?
That's right, yeah. Verstappen, car 1. He was too slow between the second and first safety car lines on his lap back to the pits after qualifying finished. Exceeded the maximum time by nearly 4 seconds.
Which normally means a penalty.
Usually, yes. It's Article 33.4. The rule's there so drivers don't dawdle and potentially cause issues. But the stewards checked his telemetry data, and it showed he had to slow down significantly because of a yellow flag zone.
Ah, context is key.
Exactly. So because there was a valid reason backed up by data, they decided no further action. It shows they're not just looking at the stopwatch, they're looking at the why.
Good to know they dig that deep. And he wasn't the only one under the microscope for delta times, was he? Seems like that was a bit of a theme.
No, he wasn't. Document 31 covers this. Tsunoda, Antonelli, Piastri, Gasly, they all went over the 1 minute 26 limit between the SC lines during qualifying.
Oh.
But again, like Max, the stewards looked into it. They found the drivers had all slowed down appropriately, letting other cars pass, not impeding anyone dangerously.
Yeah.
So same verdict, no further action. It's about the spirit of the rule safety, not just the strict number.
Right, focusing on preventing dangerous situations. But sometimes it really is just about staying on the track, isn't it? Keeping it within the white lines.
Absolutely. Back to Lance Stroll, actually. He also had a lap time deleted in qualifying document 30 just for exceeding track limits at turn 13. Simple as that. Go too wide, lose the time. Those small errors can cost you grid spots, especially somewhere like Zandvoort, which is pretty unforgiving.
Yeah, narrow and tricky. And even the practice sessions weren't immune. Seems the penalty train started early.
It did. McLaren got fined 5,000 euros during FP2. That was document 17. Oscar Piastri made 2 changes of direction in the fast lane of the pits.
Ouch!
Yeah, and it made George Russell have to brake quite hard. The team admitted they hadn't warned Piastri properly about Russell approaching. Just underlines how intense even the pit lane is, even in practice. Safety's paramount there.
Okay, so after all that pre-race admin and qualifying drama, the grid is finally set. Lights out. And the Dutch Grand Prix itself was, well, pretty wild. Multiple safety cars, incidents. Piastri kept his lead off the line, but we saw some big names hit trouble early. DNFs, right?
Yeah, a very, very eventful race. The final report confirms it all. Our first major DNF did not finish was Lewis Hamilton, car 44.
Right, lap 23, wasn't it?
Yep, lap 23. Went wide at turn 3, hit the barriers, race over. That brought out the first safety car.
Yeah.
And interestingly, document 46 notes he was also looked at for potentially ignoring yellow flags around that time. Really tough break for him, started P8. Definitely a blow for championship hopes.
And the stewards, they must have been glued to their screens for the whole race.
Absolutely flat out. We had that clash between Liam Lawson and the RB, car 30, and Carlos Sainz, car 55, right at turn 1.
Yes, I remember that.
The stewards, in document 45, decided Sainz was wholly or predominantly to blame. Tried an overtake around the outside, but his front wheels weren't fully alongside at the apex. Classic turn 1 squeeze.
So what was the damage for Saints?
10-second time penalty added to his race time, plus 2 penalty points on his license. Brings him up to 4 for the year, I think. And his radio message afterwards was apparently quite colorful. Something like, "Ooh, me, you're joking." You can just imagine the frustration in the cockpit, can't you?
You really can. Pure emotion. But the turn 1 tangle wasn't the end of the collision, sadly. Charles Leclerc had a tough day, too.
He really did. Our second DNF. Charles Leclerc, car 16, out on lap 52.
What happened there?
He got tangled up with Kimi Antonelli, car 12, coming out of the bank turn 3. Just race-ending contact. That triggered the second safety car.
And Antonelli.
He copped a 10-second penalty for causing that collision, plus another 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane earlier. All noted in the final results, document 50.
Yeah.
Just shows how quickly things can go wrong. One incident leading to penalties and ending someone else's race entirely.
Brutal. And then just when you thought things might settle down, potentially the biggest moment for the championship picture happened very late on. Lando Norris.
Oh, heartbreaking for him. Our third DNF. Lando Norris, car 4, just a few laps from the finish line.
Mechanical.
Yeah, looked like it.
Yeah.
Smoke started coming from the back of the McLaren. He had to pull over. That brought out the third and final safety car. He'd started P2, running really well. And that DNF just completely changes the championship outlook.
How so?
Well, it meant his teammate, Piastri, who won the race, suddenly gained a huge chunk of points on him. Turned what could have been a close fight into a much bigger lead for Oscar. Just cruel luck so near the end.
Absolutely gutting for Lando and McLaren. So after all that chaos, the penalties, the safety cars, there's 3 key DNFs. Hamilton, Leclerc, Norris, who actually made it to the podium. Let's break down the final results.
Right, the final classification, document 50, tells the tale. First place, P1. Oscar Piastri from McLaren, just a brilliant drive from pole, controlled it perfectly, 7th win of his season. And like we said, massively extends his championship lead now to 34 points.
Yeah.
He said afterwards he felt totally in control, looked like it too.
And second.
P2, Max Verstappen, Oracle Red Bull Racing, a really solid result for him at his home race. Definitely benefited from the safety cars and Norris's bad luck, but you've got to be there to pick up the pieces, right?
Absolutely. And the final step of the podium, this is a big one.
Huge. P3, Isaac Hadjar for Visa Cash App Racing Bulls, his first ever F1 podium. Just incredible for the rookie. He qualified P4, drove a super mature race through all the chaos, fully deserved. He even got voted driver of the day. That's the kind of result that really puts a young driver on the map.
Fantastic story for Hadjar. Beyond the podium, though, given all the drama, some drivers must have made up a ton of places. Who are the big climbers?
Yeah, 3 drivers really shone in terms of gaining positions, slicing through the field. First, Alexander Albon for Williams. Started way back in P15, finished an amazing P5, gained 10 places, fantastic drive, brilliant result for Williams.
Wow, P5 from P15, impressive.
Then, remember Oliver Bierman. Started from the pit lane after all those penalties.
Yeah, how'd he do?
He finished P6. Just astonishing. Effectively climbed 13, maybe even 14 places, depending how you count the pit lane start. Off a one-stop strategy, too. Really showed his talent under pressure.
Incredible recovery. And the third big mover.
Lance Stroll, Aston Martin. Remember, he only started P19 because the stewards let him race, despite the 107% rule issue. Finished P7. Gained 12 places. A proper recovery drive, making the absolute most of that second chance the stewards gave him. Really salvaged something from a tough start to the weekend.
It's just amazing, isn't it, how one race weekend involved so much. From those initial scrutineering checks and curfew reports, through the qualifying dramas and penalties, right down to the on-track battles, the retirements, and these fantastic recovery drives. Every single line in those nearly 50 FIA documents played some part in shaping the final story we saw.
You know, looking back at all this, it really strikes me. The Dutch Grand Prix wasn't just about driving skill or clever engineering. It was like a stress test for the rule book itself. We saw everything. Curfew breaches before things even started, tiny delta time nuances decided by telemetry, big calls on parc fermé, instant decisions on collisions. It really makes you think, doesn't it? In a sport obsessed with thousands of a second, how much does all this constant bureaucratic layering actually dictate the story we watch unfold? Does it ultimately add to the drama, or does it sometimes, maybe get in the way of the raw racing itself? Something to ponder, I guess, heading into the next race weekend.
That wraps up our post-race coverage for the Dutch Grand Prix, powered by all FIA decisions. Who knew a race could double as a legal thriller?
Thanks for hanging out with us. If you enjoyed the show, now's the perfect time to hit like and subscribe. We'll see you at the next one, assuming the stewards approve it.